Oh, hi everyone, welcome in. I am on something a little different today. What you're seeing now is the Unreal Engine, and yeah, we're just going to work in this for a bit on a little something. And yeah, I've got the camera on today for a change. Although I have a slightly different positioning that I'm more comfortable with, where there's kind of an overall kind of thing you're looking at, and I'm in it, but it's not directly focused on me, I guess. I'm sort of more comfortable with that than, yeah, it being directly focused. So, yeah. Anyway, this is just our little project we're working on. There isn't a lot in it at the moment, just this road and the landscape. And I'm currently just making some adjustments to it. But I think what I'm going to do first, because essentially I have an overlay, which is a street map of the area I'm working on, which I can turn off on and off by pressing G. But just so we have a better idea of what it looks like without the overlay on, I will create a landscape material, which I've got to remind myself how to do because I don't quite remember, but I have a document somewhere that kind of outlines what to do, I guess. So I just got to try and find that. So give me a minute. Yeah, I think I found it, so yeah, gonna attempt to follow this. I put Blender in the title because I was doing some stuff in that before stream, but not really doing anything in that at the moment. But we may go back to it in a bit if we need to make some, or probably make some adjustments to the road model that I've got. Um, but for now, we'll just do the material. Okay, so it won't capture the additional window, only this window for some reason. I think that's possibly to do with setting, maybe. Okay, so I can only capture one of these windows at a time. Uh, that's okay, because I don't want to show the desktop particularly. So yeah, we'll go with the. I can manually switch it if needed, but all I'm doing at the moment is just looking for some materials I can use in my landscape. So there's a landscape auto material here, which I might just use because that looks pretty cool. So yeah, I'll click add this to the project. It's going to download it, which might take a minute because of the size, and then we'll add it in to the project somehow. I've used one like it before, but not this exact version, I guess. That's fine. So yeah, the bot is working on the YouTube, so that's cool. So I'm gonna do what I said I wasn't gonna do, which is I gotta add the camera back in, I think. Capture the desktop because I realised the what's it called, the window capture isn't going to be that great for Unreal because every time you open something it opens a new window, including working on a different level. So until I did that switch you won't even have seen me do that as such. So yeah, that's a bit annoying, but that's okay. So yeah, just going to add the camera back in. Make a couple of adjustments. Just holding down the Alt key to make the thing ever so slightly smaller. That's fine. So yeah, essentially what I did was download this. I just hit add to project, and so now it's in here. There's a fair bit of stuff, but somewhere there should be I think there's like a master material that you apply. I'd have to slightly remind myself by looking at this, but so what we'll do, we'll switch to landscape mode. We'll select, it's manage, I think. Actually no, not that. So we'll select our current landscape tile over here. Oh no, yeah. Gotta hit edit. Enable edit layers, so we'll do that for all our tiles. Probably should have done that at the start, but that's okay. And the reason this landscape was created this way was that's just what the tool I used does. but I believe it helps with performance if it's in separate sections versus one big section. That's fine, so we'll go back to tile 1 under the landscape material. Well, let's just see what happens if, well, I don't know, play around a bit here. That's fine. Yeah, so I assume landscape and then desert, island and mountain run. Let's try this one. It's a material instance, but that's okay. It's doing some stuff at the bottom. Still doing some stuff. But yeah, it looks like it's kind of doing it. We'll try the different methods because, yeah. So I don't think it's fully loaded every texture in yet. Let's try the desert example. So that kind of works in a way. Let's just try the mountain range. See what happens there. Effectively what you end up with is something that you can paint a load of materials of, but I like the idea of that with the island example, so we'll do that. And then what we'll do, we'll try going landscape mode, paint, I guess. And oh yeah, there's something else you have to do here, which might have to Google this one because it was a change they made to one of the things and it slightly escaped me. Oh, create layer, that was it, possibly. Yeah, there was this thing before where it would show a list of layers you'd have to create. I might just Google that. And oh, I think it's that one. Create layer from assigned materials. I think. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I need to learn a bit more about this, but in theory, having done that, we can then select that and then it will remove the rocks in a certain place that we select it. The only problem we might run into is how effective the brush is, I guess. I think is what the problem here could be. Let's just bring that strength all the way up. No difference. Just bring it down again. I'll make it 1024 is what I meant to press there. Okay. I might just open this level for this and see how it's set up. See what I could be missing. Because I expect from the document I have, it's way different, isn't it? from the document I have, you know, some things have changed since then. And admittedly, I've not used this, what's it called before? This pack, so yeah. Let's have a look how I got this set up in here. Okay. So still the same message. Let's do, well, I'll do that. So in theory, we should have all the materials that we can paint, but we don't currently. So that's interesting. So I probably will Google that error. Sorry, not the error as such, but the process, what the changes are, I guess. Because if I go back to Fab, go back here and just look for some materials, essentially like the grass and the concrete, that sort of thing. I will add these all to the project because they're fairly small. I'm just looking at my PDF for a second just to see for the tutorial what there's anything we need to do particularly, and there's a few things. So here's what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna load back up our terrain map. And I'm gonna go ahead with creating my own material for now. It's gonna be a little bit slow to download, or sorry, open stuff up when it's gotta save some other stuff, which is quite intensive, shall we say, but interesting. So I'm just trying the window capture again, and I changed the capture method, and it seems to have made a difference. So yeah, I'll stick with this, I think, for now, because that's what I want in essence. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, gonna go back to wherever I created my landscaping material, and then effectively what I've downloaded should all just be in a few materials. Oh yeah, just in here. So yeah, I forgot to hit the transition button there. So you were still seeing the desktop for a bit, but that's okay. So yeah, just say following the PDF, which actually you probably were able to see when I had it open, which is fine, I don't mind, but really just want the focus to be on the program. I forget when I minimize it for me, it minimizes it for you, so I'll try not to do that. Okay. I remember this bit now in the PDF. But basically replicating the nodes, and then you replace the textures in it, and then you just connect the others up. We'll connect these up with the duplicates. So we'll duplicate these three, Control C and V, and then let's select this guy and go back to Fab. So we don't gravel, so we want mossy grass, and we'll put in the what's it called? The color texture. Select the normal and the masks. And I believe you can do this as many times as you want, but I'm just going to do 3 for now, and I can always create another material later that, although maybe not advisable, you know. But yeah, this is what I'm going to do for now since I'm live, and not necessarily wanting to spend an hour just doing this bit. So, yeah. Okay, wild grass. That in. Put this in. And the masks into this one. That's fine. Okay, and now well, effectively we can put this more in the middle. And we'll connect this up to the UV pin of the rest of them. So basically now we're going to create a material instance, and this basically lets you do a bit more stuff, customization without affecting the main material, as it were. Cool, that's what I want to see, believe it or not. And then I think, yeah, so the next thing is to go into the paint tab, and hopefully we should see some layers that we can paint before we, yeah, make sure we select the right one. Yeah, so this is where it's a little bit different. So I think potentially I have to click, yes, from assign materials here, and then create a what did they call it? A non-weight blended layer, essentially. Do that for those three, and then I believe when you, after that, you can oh right, okay, it's different to what I remember. We need to create a weighted, not a non-weighted. So let's see if we can undo that. It's going to do an autosave, which can take a minute, I think. There we go. Right, so this time, so weighted blended layer. Right. I think I gotta delete a couple of things from here. Try to anyway. Cool. Now, if I select this layer, yeah, I can then paint with it, but as you can see, it doesn't look fantastic because the tiling is not really set currently. So I'll show you that in a second. Essentially, we go into our landscape folder, select the material instance, and basically under the parameter values you have tiling here, and we'll basically set it to 1 and kind of go from there and see how it looks. Okay, so 1 looks a little bit better, but maybe make it smaller. It's just playing around with it really, seeing what looks best. Try 0.5. So I'm assuming if I make it smaller, it's going to make, yeah, everything on the ground bigger. So, okay, I actually want this a much bigger value, so let's try 2. And yeah, that's probably actually pretty good. We can maybe do 2.2, 2.4. It's actually the bigger landscape you have, the more tiling you have to do, but that's okay. We can now, anyway, focus on a bit of painting, which is kind of fun. So, and speed this up, increase the brush size. do that and that and that. I can zoom out a bit. Yeah, so I'll have to do a bit of research with the auto material for some instructions on how you get the layers working and stuff. So now we've done that, if we just select the grass, but maybe harvest. For whatever reason, they recommend doing this in like byte sizes, 2048, like 2 gigs, 2000 effectively. But if we do that, yeah, it still start to see some grass that we're painting on. I mean, I think the main issue is to do with how strong the brush is / the size. So I'll make that a bit bigger. It's kind of doing it now. We can see some element of grass there. If we select another one, that's kind of even better in the sense of how much you can see it. So what I'll do, just speed up a bit of time, put the strength back down on this, and I'll maximize the size, just to make it so a reasonable amount of the rest of this is painted and looks alright in the distance. As I say, you have many more materials and attributes if you want to. The materials, but yes, it's just the basics what we're doing at the moment. Yeah. Okay, so we come back out of this for now. So it doesn't look too bad. Admittedly, what I was trying to go with this was the idea that you have spots on a lot of pavements in the UK where there's a bit of grass growing, but realistically I probably should have made this go upwards rather than downwards. So that's some adjustments we could do in the model. And there's some textures for whatever reason which I think because of the landscaping and that aren't quite showing through. And yeah, the odd texture here on the ends which essentially just not been UV unwrapped yet, so they don't look the best, but that's okay. Just see if we open up Blender real quick, how easy that would be to fix. I'll have to switch the window, but that's okay. So the first thing I'll do with this is, I always kind of like to work with the mirror modifier to make life a little bit easier. So we're just going to delete half of the model, essentially. We'll turn on X-ray view to do that. Then we'll delete do the vertices, I guess, but maybe undo that. Actually, we probably do want that bit. So we want half of this, but not the other half, so maybe that will do what we want. Yes, it will. Cool. Okay, and we'll set the origin point back to here, so when we do the mirror modifier again, in fact I'll show you it actually works. There you go. So yeah, just trying to see on here really where the issue is with the texture. It looks like it's sort of only on certain pieces, which is weird because it should all be consistent. So I don't quite understand that. Try and oops, moving around this sometimes is a bit tricky. But yeah, all that texture looks fine, so I don't quite know what's up with that. I think I know. It's Unreal doing something really annoying, which I wish it wouldn't do by default. But what we can do while we're in here, is we'll try and grab these faces here, and then kind of pull them upwards, I guess. So like G and Z. And some of the texturing of that's going to be a little bit messy, but I am thinking of doing... Well, I mean, first let me enable snapping and do G and Z, get it back to the same height as the rest of that. And then I'm going to add in 2 more pieces here, which with the grass texture. And we'll just do cube project, that's fine. And then effectively do like, well, we could either do G, but probably E better. Something like that, and then just these edges, we'll assign those to concrete. And unfortunately I can't select the ring of edges there. So I'm going to have to select them kind of individually, but that's okay. U and cube project, and then yeah, that's the concrete. And so I suppose the only other thing is maybe about beveling the edges. So we'll apply rotation scale first. Okay, so the edge select's working slightly better from that point of view. Let's see if we can, yeah, bevel this edge really. If I can properly zoom in on it. I think clipping is getting in the way. So that's in view. Change that to 1/2 meter. Yeah, that's better. And then, yeah, do a fairly small bevel like that. And we'll assign concrete to those in U and cube projection. And then, so these faces, they probably ought to go down a bit if I can get them selected. In my head anyway, they should go down. So potentially E and Z. Yeah, I think that looks well, I thought that looked okay, and then noticed it was doing something else there, so Okay, that might be fixed if we do this. Merge by distance. Oh, remove 28 vertices, which is good. So let's see if we reset these and turn off the X-ray view temporarily. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for. Not far off. We could potentially add some stuff in here at a later date. Blender does have a particle system. You add grass to and stuff, but I won't do that now. Just the grass texture will be okay. And just again, see if I can select. Can't select these ring of faces, so I might have to select these one by one too. Well, not all one by one, but a lot of them one by one. And just do the old cube projection on these. It's kind of the lazy way of doing it, but I'm not too bothered at the moment. And yeah, that's cool. I like that. So I like just select all the concrete. Yeah, better idea, and do cube project. Admittedly, if we select all that, wonder if it's to do with, because if I go into the UV editor, looks okay. I have a feeling. I wonder if what I'm seeing in the Unreal is to do with this, perhaps, and that's what's appearing. No, I think it's to do with this other issue. Anyway, so what we'll do now is, now that I'm happy with that, I'm gonna apply the mirror modifier. I'm gonna change the origin point to one of the edges. I'm gonna reset the 3D cursor and then select this, bring up my quick favorites and do selection to cursor, export as FBX. You won't be able to see this, but I'm going to change my present to the Unreal Engine, overwrite my road, previous object, and then we'll undo that. And we'll close that out. Reselect the Unreal Engine. And then I'll go over to my road. I'll right click on my object, and because I'm using the same file name, just re-import it. And then, yeah, this horrible option I wish was not enabled by default, because it really messes up lower poly objects, which I can demonstrate to you. If we do, where is it in here? It's something like, there was a show menu, but oh yeah, just over here. If we show the wireframe view, as you can see, this is a fairly low poly object, which is intentional because it's for a game. And Unreal by default, if you let it enable nanite mode, it's gonna try and move stuff around to make it more, detailed, but the result of that with a low poly object is just weird issues that you can't work out, and then you check this and you're like, oh, very annoying. So save that, close out of it. So do you want to do this? Yes, absolutely. And then reopen it, and that looks a fair bit better, and hopefully no more silly texture issues. And yeah, I'm quite liking the way that grass bit's looking. As I say, once we add, I think, some actual 3D, well 2D as it were, plants to it with the particle system in Blender, I think that'll look pretty good. So we'll save that again, close that out, and we could rename it actually to, well, SM, short for static mesh _ my road, just so it follows up a naming convention, but yeah. And yeah, I think that's not looking too bad actually. Hey, there's some adjustments. Well, eventually I'll make like a master material, which but basically for this will enable a load of adjustments to make the material darker and this sort of thing, and adjust the strength of the normals and what have you. But for now, that's not too bad. And in theory, by adding in the multiple material slots to my road, I can I go into the mesh section and select spines. I suppose I've got to do that. I can effectively enable a material override. So let's say for I think it's number 3 is the left line for this section. I can say, wow, yeah, I want that to be plain and just enable the asphalt. And in theory what that should have done is got rid of it, but it's still kind of screwed up because I think the UV needs adjusting. So we'll revert that. Potentially I need to redo how many materials are assigned. But in theory it should be, in fact yes, I think I do because of mirroring the object. So potentially a better example could be the center. What I believe number 1 is the center line. Yeah, that's a better example. I can get rid of the center line on this section effectively, but you see it's still on this section. But yeah, no, that's cool in effect. We'll delete these for now if I remember how. Yeah, do that. Okay, so yeah, a couple of options really. Could expand the road further, or try working on some other bits around it. I mean, I'm curious to know what the collision on the road is actually. If I do I play a collision on this, yeah, so we need to address that. And I believe all we need to do is type in col and change the collision complexity to use complex collision as simple, and then by doing that, that should be a lot better. And then when I go to actually let's try and spawn in my vehicle, as it were. I believe the player starts around here somewhere. Yeah, there. Might need to move that over a bit. I put it quite high in the air because, well, actually it was something to do with, yeah, it's quite hard to tell where it is based on a few things actually. But I believe that's above the thing now. So if I hit save, no, it still needs to be higher. If I do F, it will focus in on that bit, but there we go. Still make it higher, I think. Yeah, cool. And that adds me bus in. And I can kind of get an idea of how wide the road is here. And the collision. And it looks like the collision is kind of working how I intended. Because kind of gets stuck on the curve, which is what it would do in real life. There's no momentum. So let's try come forward a bit, just driving along a lowish speed. And the width is probably about right. Could be a little bit wider, but I think that's okay for a road like this in the UK. See, yeah, we go into the curve, it knocks us off, and that kind of thing. So that's fine. The reverse doesn't always work on this for some reason. I think it's got stuck on something there. That's okay. So just contemplating what I want to do next. One option would be to create, say, like a master material that these other materials kind of reference, and I could do some more adjustments to how the asphalt looks. But I have to remind myself with a video how to do that. And the other is bring in some objects, some houses and stuff as well. So I don't know, let me think for a minute. Yeah, so this is basically a 40-minute video that goes over how to create this master material. But I remember the odd bits from it, so we'll try. If I load it up and mute it immediately. Yeah, and it basically just goes off what to do. Okay, yeah, so the first thing we'll do, we will, well, effectively, I think somewhere in here we'll create a folder called materials and then create the master material in there. No, folder among folder, I won't do that yet, I'll just create that when it eventually stops lagging. Just do m underscore master material. And I think I'll select one of my landscape. Well, good question actually. Depending on how you do it, can affect some things. So let's stick with one of these, because that could be an option. Probably better to have more slots than less slots for a different type of material. But so ambient occlusion we'll put in there. Roughness, put in up here, we'll turn specular off. Makes it rather shiny. Normal DX put there. Now the interesting thing is, before applying the colour, like if I make this a lot darker, it doesn't look a million miles off actual asphalt necessarily. Make it even darker. Yeah, we will apply the colour texture. I'll try and evenly space them out, and we'll convert to parameter, and we'll just call this, well, diffuse because there's no arguments on how to spell that versus colour. We'll try and spell roughness correctly. Forget what happens if you convert to a texture object. Let's just try that. Okay. Won't do that. Still do the parameter, and this is, well, we'll call this AO for short. And if I'll show you again. Well, if we create a material instance from that, and we'll just call it MI underscore tarmac. We have these values here we can change, but we'll end up with a lot more of those that we can change as I'm following along with this video. Whoops. So the guy's on about now, basically just stuff to do with organisation, about creating groups for textures, which I'll do because, yeah, might as well. So I'll basically go back into here, select all these and then group, call these textures, and priority, we'll put this at 1 for now, but kind of doesn't matter because go back into here, see that just appears first anyway, so yeah, that's kind of cool that you do the preview mesh. I didn't really know about that, but yeah, no, that's cool. Anyway, go back into here, let's see what the guy does next. So he's adding in some multiply nodes for color correction, which is fair enough. This is kind of coming back to me now. So the one thing we'll need is a bit more space, so we'll pull these back here. Do that for now. So if I M plus, yeah, there we go. And if I do this and this, I've seen like basic stuff before this video that covered this, but this covers in a lot more detail, so it's kind of cool. Yeah, so as we make these changes, these new things come in, which is cool. Back to the video. I'm just gonna mute desktop audio temporarily so I can. Some of this I do need to hear what he's saying because subtitles are not that great. So yeah, bear with me. So potentially now if I go into my road object and I selected here MI tarmac, it actually looks a bit better, and I can adjust this accordingly. The brightness, the contrast. So if I wanted it to look like that, save that, or make it slightly lower. Or add a tint in to make it slightly yellow or something. We can do that. We'd make it pink if we really wanted to. Various adjustments. Like slightly blue. Yeah, I kind of like that in a weird way. And then the saturation. It's a funny one because you pull it up like that. Yeah, so we might put that to 2. It's like a very thingy looking tarmac now, so we might back that off a bit. I say you spend all day doing these adjustments, and you know, it's like, yeah, crazy. Yeah, we might leave it there for now. Anyway, yeah, I'm probably going to finish up here for now. But yeah, thanks everybody for being here. I do appreciate it. And yeah, till next time, which will probably be Friday, I imagine. Bye for now.